Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for another video of a fallen nation. This week, we will quickly be going through the nation of Lastwall and talk about all that was and all that was lost. Long ago, Talbathon, cultist of the Whispered Way, rose again as the lich known as the Whispering Tyrant. For 5 centuries, he expanded his domain, putting much of central Aveston, an area today known as the Eye of Dread, under his power. His march seemed to be unstoppable, which is what eventually drove mortals and gods to act. The nation of Taldor created an alliance with the dwarfs of the Sky Citadel Cregadon and the paladins of the Knights of Ozum, and under the protective power of Eredin himself, launched the Shining Crusade. It was a hard-fought war, with many heartbreaks on the side of the Crusaders. Not the least sacrifice was Erasni herself, the herald of Eredin at the time. But in the end, after 26 years of fighting, the Crusade came to an end with the Lich sealed away. However, while some heroes left for home, celebrating the end of the war, others worried of a day the Lich would be able to find a way outside of his prison. Therefore, some decided to permanently settle in the area, to ensure the menace would never escape. To show to all what the nation stood for, they named it Lastwall. Of course, for most of Lastwall's existence, it would be focused less on the undead and more on orcs. The nation was built on the border to the hold of Bilkson, and whether they are good or bad, orcs tend to be more willing to fight just because they can. Twice the border with their northern neighbor was forced back. The first border, the Sunwall, fell after around 400 years, and the second, known as Hallchrist's Blockade, lasted around another 300. Eventually the final border would be established with Castle Everstand at the edge of the Kestrel River, a border known as the Horde Line. Here it would stay for another almost 200 years, until the day that Lastwall itself fell. And over this time, Lastwall has been connected to various events in the area. When Kazavan, a black dragon worshipper of Zon-Kuthon who disguised himself as a mercenary, tried conquering the whole of Belkson, the people of Lastwall originally called him a hero, until his true colors were shown. Well, I guess color. This led to one of the heroes of Lastwall, Mandravis, being the hero who slayed him, and the one who proposed the idea of splitting the tyrant's body into 7 pieces. They also lived to see the end of the extended Taldan Empire. When Cheliax achieved independence for much of Taldan's territories, most of them then joined Cheliax. Lastwall was one of the exceptions. They took the opportunity to officially become independent, an unaffiliated nation with no other priorities than its eternal watch. I don't think Cheliax was happy, but at the time they were at least willing to allow the transition publicly. However, Lastwall's walls would eventually fall. The Whispering Tyrant in his imprisonment came up with a weapon able to free himself from his eternity, called Radiant Fire. With this, he could create an explosion of both negative and positive energy, and he unleashed one of the explosions right in the capital of Lastwall, before freeing himself. But armies and heroes would eventually push the tyrant onto his back foot, forcing him to retreat and regroup. The nation of Lastwall, by that point, had become an undead wasteland, now called the Gravelands. However, Lastwall still lives, if not as a land, as a people. But that will be something we have to talk about next week. As for this week, we have already reached our grave conclusion. I am not sorry. See you all next time.